I'm Stevi.
I'm Tonya. Welcome to Lesbians Eat Out,
your go-to channel
for all your eating out reviews.
So, let's get started with a continuation on Lesbians Eat Out, New York. This was actually a restaurant in Hoboken, New Jersey. So, from the south end of Manhattan, you can take a train over and get to Hoboken, and from there, it's really not a bad walk to get up to La Isla.
Okay, so we'll go into that a little bit later. I was going to talk about why I chose that place, but that's later. When it comes to La Isla, you're able to make reservations, and I would personally just recommend that you do make reservations with it being really close to New York, and there are still COVID effects happening. So one of the things that I made sure to do was just to hit a reservation. We got to La Isla probably about 15 minutes ahead of schedule for our reservation time. And the hostess was super gracious. He was amazing. We let him know what our reservation time was.
A hostess.
Yeah, fair. The host was super gracious about the fact that we had gotten there early and we were able to be seated right away, which is super awesome. So I guess the next thing we're going to talk about is kind of the seating and the spacing. It was tight. It was very tight.
It was.
Yeah. So really we were sat in like a galley style. So it was a very long walkway, right next to the bar. It was, I'm a pretty curvy girl. And I was like back to back with the person right next to me when it came to being seated.
Right behind you,
yeah. Sorry, right behind me. And I will say this, as we were leaving, we realized we had walked around the building. We realized there was like a whole nother dining area in the restaurant. So I would just recommend, if you can choose your table and you do want a little bit more seating or a little more spacing around your seating, then maybe specifically request the back dining area.
Where honestly it seemed to have a little bit more of a romantic atmosphere.
It really did, yeah.
Which, assumptions being made, could be why they chose not to seat us there. Because, to women, how could that be romantic? Except that it is.
Always.
All the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yep. Yeah, so the seating was a little tight. And then also, if you are concerned with any things with COVID, I would probably not recommend dining out there, and not even in the back dining area. While there was a little bit more space in the back dining area, it still was a very crowded restaurant, and it was definitely not 6 feet distancing. So if that's something that does concern you, if you have pre-existing conditions, or maybe you just didn't get your vaccinations or whatnot, then I probably would avoid that restaurant. So the atmosphere was fantastic. I loved it. It really felt super authentic, like being in a little Cuba. They had a lot of natural elements brought into the restaurant. Amazing paintings that were very reminiscent of if I were to go to Cuba, which I've never been, but like if I could, this is kind of what I guess I would expect a little bit. And then I will say this though, when it comes...
Sorry, I just want to pause there and say the tile work, they had tile floors, beautiful, really.
Yeah, it really was. I will say though, when it comes to acoustics, it was super, super loud.
Well, tile floor.
Well, yeah, everything was tile. Also, just keeping in mind how small the space was. So between the Latin music playing in the background, the dishware, the sounds of all the dishware and the people talking, it was a little bit louder than I felt I would appreciate when it comes to just having conversation.
Well, and it did seem, so the area of the restaurant, we'll say like the front of the restaurant where we were seated, versus the back of the restaurant that we didn't see until after we left. Where we were seated seemed to be more occupied by families and groups of friends that were gathering together, whereas the back of the restaurant had lower lighting and seemed to be a lot of couples.
Yeah.
So definitely, not only were the acoustics not really great for visiting, but also they did seem to almost create a separation there between, like, you know, friendly get-togethers versus more romantic dinners. Had we known, we would have requested a more romantic.
Yeah, and I think I requested through Open Table, and I do believe through Open Table you can put like little notes and comments at the bottom of your reservation. So I didn't really think anything about it, but
well, because we had never been there before.
Yeah, so like if we were to go back, that's probably something that I would do, add in the comments.
Right. But if you choose to go, things to know.
Things to know, very true. I will say one of my favorite things, totally nothing to do with the food or anything, but the atmosphere. At one point in time, I think it was like a mom and a little girl, they got out of their seats and started dancing in the floor to the music. So that was super cute.
It was super cute.
And I think it just kind of gave me a little bit the imagination of, I could see that totally happening, actually being in the country, where people would be getting up to dance. Maybe there could be a little bit more space in a restaurant and you had the ability to dance or something, but it was super adorable though.
For a cultural restaurant, it was definitely like an immersive cultural experience, from decor to menu to music to the people that were there,
the staff even.
Yeah, definitely
100%. And I think that's kind of where I end on my part about our first experience going in. Actually it is not the server/service. So anyways, he was nice, not overly nice, not Midwest nice. Yeah,
it is hard to reach that level if you're not from the Midwest or Canadian.
Yeah. Again, definitely a different division of duties when it came to refilling drinks. There was a different person who would refill our water while our server was still, doing his job as the server. So that's very efficient. I really appreciate that.
And that seemed to be kind of the pattern that we noticed in service when we were out in that area in the New York, New Jersey area, was that the server really just took orders and delivered them to the kitchen and would check on you
and deliver food.
Not even necessarily.
He delivered our food.
Yeah, he did, but I'm just saying as a general aside to eating out there, not everywhere we went did the server deliver the food.
That's also fair.
But I don't know that anywhere we went the server was responsible for refilling drinks. It was more of like a busser duty.
Yeah. So,
which cool.
So yeah, he was East Coast great, and East Coast great.
I love that.
That's where we're at.
The menu was probably one of the smaller menus that we encountered. But everything on the menu is very obviously a cultural dish. Perhaps with the exception being some of the like Cubano sandwiches. But even then, it was, there's a reason there's a Cuban sandwich. Like, everyone knows that is an option. So, I mean, it's not an option everywhere, but, the Cuban sandwich is specific. But they had several types of Cuban sandwiches. And
it's a sandwich. Sorry.
I feel like I'm being judged for ordering a sandwich at a Cuban restaurant. But honestly,
we don't judge each other, but there's just some very strong feelings about it.
And quite honestly, it was good. It was the meat was super tender. The peppers and onions were cooked very well with like that kind of flame grilled taste almost. And really my only complaint was that it was dry. There was no sauce on it, which Americans, we do love our sauce. We really do. So I did add a little bit of hot sauce because that was available on the table, of course, and that actually really helped. But I'm not a super spicy person, so I couldn't add a ton of hot sauce to it just to keep it palatable for myself. but the addition of hot sauce actually went really well with the sandwich, and it really helped with that kind of dryness. The other thing about my food was there was no side, no fries, no chips, no.
Oh, but that's because you had the little fried chip things on your sandwich.
That does not matter.
I'm just saying that's why.
No.
I'm not disagreeing with you. There should be a side. I'm just saying you had there was
if I order a burger,
like potato crisps.
If I order a burger that has an onion ring on it, it's still gonna come with a side of fries.
Again,
literally anywhere else that I've ever
that's an American restaurant. We were in a Cuban restaurant.
Yeah, okay. But again, with the menu, there were some really fantastic entrees available.
Okay, so my dish, because we were going to a Cuban restaurant, and I was like, first of all, couple of facts about me. One, I don't like ordering new things at a restaurant because if I don't like it, I don't want to have wasted the money for something that I do not like.
Go ahead.
Two, I don't order new things at a restaurant. However,
that was fun.
Yeah, I know. But I kind of had this thought to myself. This is a new place I've never been to New York, never been to New Jersey. I'm going to a new kind of restaurant that I've never eaten at. So I'm like, let's just keep rolling with the awesomeness and get something I would never usually try. So I did. And I got oh my God, it was so good. I got this fantastic chicken dish. It had creamy garlic sauce to it. Mm-hmm. And then it had its own sides that it usually came with. And I think one was rice.
It usually comes with
rice and beans. And I was like, I know what that tastes like. So what can I do to change it up? And instead I got, I was getting there. Pan-seared plantains, which was fantastic. Mm. And I also got yucca. And I asked the server, I was like, what is yucca? And he's like, it's yucca. I was
you asked him, how is the yucca? Like, what does it taste like?
And he said, it's yucca. And I was like, okay, but compare that to something that I know.
Which, to be fair, it's like the closer to the equator's version of a potato. So
I was getting there.
I was just gonna say though, if somebody asked me, well, what's a potato taste like? I might actually have the very same reaction.
It's a potato,
to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a potato, basically.
It is.
It's not a potato, but it is.
It's not a potato. I would say that it's a root. It's definitely a root vegetable. But the one thing
a sweet potato versus white potato versus a yucca.
No, I would honestly put it closer to a carrot. And the only reason that I say that is because the way that it was cooked, there was this very soft outside, but then inside there was a little bit of a harder center that was more fibrous. Kind of like, I guess maybe like the inside of an orange, you know how you have that really thick part where the navel goes into the orange. It was kind of like that, but in the yucca. So either way, it was really fantastic. All of the flavors of the dish paired together very, very well between the flavors of the yucca and I don't know what kind of seasoning was on that, but it was phenomenal. That paired very well with the garlic cream sauce, but then the plantain was like a really good sweet finish at the very end. It was really nice.
Can we also talk about how your chicken breast was pounded really thin, so it was really really easy to cut through? Like, you didn't need a knife really to cut through it, but it was also just super, super tender because it had been, you could tell it had been malleted.
Yeah, it was definitely, it had been tenderized, and it was pan-seared chicken, which was really good. And I think what was really awesome about it, because I have actually cooked chicken that way, and you have to be really on top of your game to be able to cook it all the way through, but yet still keep it tender and keep it very flavorful with juicy. I was gonna say moist, and then I was gonna say juicy, and I was like, in my head, some people could take those to 2 different levels. So, but here we are. It was very juicy chicken.
Yes.
Yeah. So the chicken was very tender and juicy.
Yeah. So as far as menu selection, there were some chicken dishes, there were some seafood dishes, there were some sandwich selections. So good selection for being a smaller menu, but wow, that execution.
Can we just talk about the cocktail that I got?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God,
Good
it was
cocktail
so
selection,
good. Very
yeah.
good cocktail selection.
Overall great cocktail.
Yeah,
selection.
I think it had.
I mean, they did have a full bar, so
it had like some like coconut cream in it or coconut milk in it, which was really good. Some pineapple juice in it, and it was so pretty.
It was
God,
beautiful.
It was so pretty. Actually, I kept the flower out of my cocktail.
With a fresh flower on top.
A fresh orchid flower on top. Yeah, it was delish. It was so good.
Super good.
And oh, here's the one thing too about that cocktail. It actually had rum in it. Again, Cuba.
Yeah.
And I don't like rum. I am not a rum person, but that was a phenomenal cocktail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a little taste. It was not bad at all.
It was not bad. I could have ordered like 4 more.
I'm sure.
I didn't, but I could have.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as far as the uniqueness, I would say it was unique in that it was very traditionally Cuban with great flavor execution.
Again,
for cultural dishes.
I have nothing to compare it to, but
right. For never having eaten Cuban food, that's where I would put it. Yeah, we definitely are pretty narrow in the cultural food offerings that we have here. So when we travel to places that have a little broader range, it is really nice to kind of explore that. So I respect that choice, you know, to eat at La Isla. It was good selection.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that was there any other reason you specifically chose?
Oh, yeah. Also, other reason, which was awesome. So, we were staying just outside of, we were staying at Fort Lee, right? And that was like roughly a 25-minute drive down to Hoboken. The other reason that I picked La Isla is because as a former Food Network fan, also I did go to school for a real brief second to be a baker, which by the way, I have to be so precise. Not my thing. So, but
I can't really see you as a baker.
Yeah. But I did fantastic. I just didn't like have to do all the measuring when like with cooking, you could just like throw things in there.
I wonder where your son gets it from.
It's fine. Anyway, so the reason that I picked that restaurant is because I think it was like a 15-minute walk max. I wanted to stop at Carlos Bakery, which has Buddy Velasca, I think his last name is, from the Cake Boss show. And so I wanted to stop at the bakery, and so I picked La Isla because it was just north of that, and so we had a great Cuban dinner, and then we took a fantastic evening stroll down.
It really was fantastic.
It was.
The weather was perfect.
The neighborhood was beautiful.
It really was beautiful.
And we made it down to the bakery and got some sweet treats from there, which by the way, La Isla did have a good dessert menu. It wasn't super extensive. It was very light. It was short. We didn't order dessert because we had planned to go to the bakery, but they do have a dessert menu.
Yes. So
I kind of a little disappointed that I didn't get dessert there though, because I'm like, well, the rest of the Cuban experience was fantastic. So like, I bet you the dessert would have been phenomenal.
So yeah, overall, great food, good service, minus the it's yucca comment. Like, try a little harder.
Even then,
I mean, he wasn't rude about it.
He wasn't rude about it.
It was genuinely like, I have no idea how to describe this to you because it is what it is. Kind of a
it was kind of a little endearing. Yeah. What was our cost breakdown?
So our cost breakdown, we had 2 meals. You actually did get an extra side because you had the yucca that you substituted the rice for, and you got the plantains, but you still got the beans with it, which were really good also, by the way. Super flavorful. So 2 meals, an extra side, and 1 cocktail came out to $64.51. We tipped $13 for a total of $77.51 for a very lovely meal for 2.
Yeah. And who got the check? I think it was set at the center of the table.
I think it was set at the center of the table.
To be fair, though, our table was rather small, so like between like
you would have to put it like right in your place, you know, right in your food dish for it to be yours. But yeah, it was very central. So we'll give him a win on that. No assumptions made.
Just, win.
Hashtag win for La Isla.
Yeah.
Not that it really bothers me when they make assumptions. I think it's hilarious, but
I love it. It's a really fun game. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
it just fair. Like ends the night with a game.
Yeah, that's fair.
And we do make bets sometimes.
Sometimes. Fantastic bets.
Fantastic. Great prizes. Anyway.
What?
Yeah.
So top 3 shout outs.
Okay. First shout out is definitely going to be 100% the atmosphere. I felt like it was so authentic from everything that we mentioned before, the atmosphere for sure.
Yeah, definitely didn't feel like we were in Hoboken, New Jersey.
No, it did not.
Felt much more like we were in Havana.
Yeah.
So, shout out to the food. Honestly, great flavor combos, so great cultural selection. Felt very traditionally Cuban, and because of that, really, the dedication to that type of a menu, it was easy to be really confident choosing anything.
Yeah,
and know that it was going to be good.
100% for sure. And then lastly, the decor. I know that it's really part of the atmosphere, but at the end of the day, you couldn't have all that atmosphere if it weren't for some of the decor that they had chosen. They had beautiful paintings, the flooring was amazing, the lighting was amazing.
But my favorite part, fresh, real flowers at the tables.
Yes. Real candles.
With real flames.
Real flames.
Not any of that LED crap.
Yeah.
And it was springtime, and they had some trimmings, some branch trimmings from an apple blossom tree as like a decor sitting on the bar, and just all these really wonderful natural seasonal elements that just really worked great with the atmosphere.
Yeah. So
but really stands alone as its own shout out.
So with that being said, as with every restaurant,
how many licks? I think I give it a solid
5.
5.
Only 4. Worth a 4.
I was disappointed there was no sauce on my sandwich.
I would give it a
Other
solid.
sandwiches had sauce.
I would give it a solid 5 licks, because why would you choose a sandwich at a Cuban restaurant anyway?
Because it's a Cuban sandwich. It's a whole thing.
It's a sandwich.
It's a whole thing. That's like asking why would you order pasta at an Italian restaurant?
But it's a sandwich with so many
Anyway, 4.5 licks.
5 licks.
Skip the tongue flick.
5 licks. And just because of the disagreement, there is no tongue flick.
There 100% is a tongue flick every time.
No. Yeah, you like that. Anyway,
yeah.
So clearly we are not on the same page about the licks, but either way, if you're looking for a great authentic experience, La Isla in Hoboken, New Jersey is going to be the place to go.
Yes. This concludes Lesbians Eat Out in New York / New Jersey. That was our last East Coast, for now, episode that we have to share with you. So next time you can join us back in Michigan. But yeah, thank you again for joining us. This has been
Lesbians Eat Out.